Hello, everybody. Welcome to SGTV. I'm your host, Paras Anand, and today we have a very special guest. We have somebody who's been with us for a couple of decades. Welcome to the show, Parthiv.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Good to be here. Feels like I'm in the home TV, not the SGTV.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so you've been associated with SG for 2 decades now. So do you remember the first time when SG came to you with the contract, and how was that start of your SG
I
career?
th- yeah, I clearly remember everything. I thought, I clearly remember it was in Delhi. I think we had a camp of under 17 Indian team, which was going to take part in Asia Cup in Bangladesh, and we were staying in Hotel Janpat that time. And you and I think Anish Gautam had come with SG kits and contract and stuff. Back then, it was huge. I think getting a contract was itself was very big thing. It was almost as good as you're being picked in the Ranji Trophy side. So it's been what 20 years. I was 16, so 36 now. So it's been 20 years of association, and I'm sure we share great friendship. It's just contract is a different thing, but I think what I came across a wonderful family. Everyone in SG family, good to be feel honored that I was part of SG and still being part of SG family.
And you immediately after that, within a year, you were playing for the country. You were sharing the dressing room with the legends like Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, Saurav Ganguly, VVS Lakshman. So how was it, for a youngster at that as a teenager, still as a teenager? So how was the entire experience?
I think it was unreal, when you talk about, say, someone making a debut at 17. When I look at, I do a lot of coaching right now. So, when I look at 17-year-old kids playing, and then sometimes, that thought passes across my mind that how did I manage to play for India at 17? But, it's an absolute honor to play for India. But as you said, after in almost 1 year's time, I was playing for India once I played junior level first time for India. But then making a debut for India was absolute unreal, real experience for me, because back then there was no IPL, so we did not have that exposure of spending time with international players. Me being coming from a very small state where there's no connection of play or interacting with international players. They were like godlike figure in Indian cricket.
Mhm. Correct.
So just to have, I was like, I had no idea how will I be received in the dressing room, whether I'll be able to communicate with them or not. But once I entered the dressing room, the likes of Saurav Ganguly was a captain, Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, Lakshman. I think they all made me feel comfortable. And as far as debut was concerned, I think I thought that this is the first Test match. That my dreams over, and I'm happy with playing only one Test match.
So, so this was the excitement, of being
Um,
part of that dressing room at such a young age. But beyond that, there must have been pressure, that you were facing somebody like Matthew Hogarth, who was at the top of his game, and then you had to keep wickets to Anil Kumble, who was again,
yeah.
a world champion. So how did you manage the pressure? So what was going in your head when you were going through that at that age?
I think when you're making your debut and when you're playing for the first time, there is not as much pressure. That pressure actually starts once you have played a couple of Test matches. Then the pressure of
Mhm.
expectation starts and all of that. But at that age, you don't think about all of that. But yeah. I clearly remember in my debut Test match, Anil Kumble did not play that Test match. Headingley Test match and second Test match, it was mine, but the series is third Test match. Anil Kumble played that Test match, and he was going to play. So John Wright took me inside before practice, and he clearly questioned me, "Do you think you can keep wickets to Anil Kumble?" I said, "Yeah," but because I had kept to Harbhajan Singh, Zair Khan, and all that. Why not? At that age, you are fearless. You don't worry about anything, and then I had no hesitation in doing it. But having said that, I think biggest challenge of my career would be keeping wickets to Anil Kumble.
So, like we're talking about challenges, we're talking about pressure. Uh, See, when you're playing under 17, under 19, or junior cricket, you have a coach, and then you move on to the state team, and then in your case, you played for the country, so the coaches keep on changing, the support staff changes, and we've seen that it's not just for cricket, it's something that happens right across all sports. So how difficult it is for a player to move from one level to another level, where you have a coach, you have somebody you look up to in your first class team, you have somebody you look up to who guides you, who's a mentor, but then you move on. So what was the challenge for you, and how should one address that challenge, for a youngster?
I think to me, for me, I think biggest challenge for me was, as a coach, that every level wherever you go, you'll find a different coach and he'll tell you different things. But what as a youngster, what you need to do is not to forget your basics. You have to keep that in your mind, that the front foot defense will always remain front foot defense. A basic
Correct.
wicket keeping technique will always remain basic wicket keeping technique. So no matter what coaches are saying, they would be talking about their experiences. They will try and enhance you as a cricketer, but before that you have to understand that basics doesn't change. So you've reached certain level by doing good things, by maybe your basics are right. That is the reason why you've gone on to play for Ranji Trophy, or you play for India. Otherwise you cannot. I mean it's very difficult. But then for you to keep that in mind, that you have basics, you are just enhancing those basics, and then try and improve from there. If someone tries to change your technique overhaul, let me say a basic grip, someone you might have an unusual grip, say some like MS Dhoni's technique. It is completely different. But then you cannot change him. If you tell him to play cover drive with top end, he'll not be able to do it. But what a coaches, this upper level coaches do is they help you to select those balls, because cover drive will remain cover drive.
Yeah.
So that's something which as a youngster you need to keep that in mind.
So, if what I've understood is, you've got a skill set, and then there'll be some sort of value addition you will get as you move up, from Ranji Trophy to international, or from Ranji to IPL. So that challenge, for a youngster, he has to be also, he has to ensure that, it is up to him to decide, whether that will work for him or not. That's something that you have to just go with the flow.
Yeah, correct. I think it's up to you whether, I mean, coaches also do the same thing. Whether first of all, coach doesn't have to go and play. It's you have to go and play. So you have to understand whether you are comfortable doing it or not, and are you willing to give that time to that thing as well. If you want to change something, are you willing to change those things? Because I remember I was getting runs, I was getting 500, 600 runs, but then something I changed at the age of 26. I had no initial movement, but I changed that initial
Yeah,
moment when I was at 26. So that's
yeah,
almost 10 years of international cricket for me.
yeah,
After that, I changed, but then I had to give that. First I trusted my coach. It was Mukund
yes.
Parmar, I think, who was also a former SG guy.
Ah,
I trusted him, and we did something, and then we gave time to it. Like say 4 months, 5 months, we were practicing constantly without playing any games. So once you feel you're in line with what a coach wants you to do, then you got to give yourself a bit of time to it.
so, like we just spoke about MS Dhoni. So he
Mm.
is, once in a lifetime cricketer, who will come, and who's there, played for India for a very long time. And there must have been pressure for you. There must have been pressure to keep yourself motivated, because you did very well at the first class level, and it's not easy. Everybody knows that playing first class and scoring the way you scored, and your performances in IPL also. So how difficult was, from the high, to play for the country at such a young age, and then suddenly you have MSD phenomena. So what was going through your head, and how you kept your focus for such a long time?
See, first of all, I think it was very important for me to accept that MS Dhoni is Indian team's captain and he's a wicket keeper. So I will only get to play once, uh, you know, once he gets injured or once he's out of form, which is not going to happen. So otherwise, once he gets takes a bit of rest, only then I'll get my chances. But before that, I had decided something, whether I was scoring 600, 700 runs, was getting noticed as well. But there's an incident where season finished. I met Saurav Ganguly at the airport. Accidentally, we bumped into each other, and he asked me how was your season. I said I scored 600 runs,
Yeah.
And then suddenly, and then he was like, yeah, that you do it every season. You got to do something which is, which people can notice. If you
Yeah.
want to make a comeback into Indian side, you have to do something different, maybe 1,000 run or win domestic trophy, something like that. So from that season, I decided that I want to build a Gujarat side.
Yes.
I want to get into an action as a captain of the side who's not only scored his runs but he's helped a lot of players to come across and play for India. And Gujarat goes on to win Ranji Trophy or Vijay Hazare or Mushtaq Ali. So that change I made. And there was another thing which I was as a player doing is for every series, I used to keep myself ready. Whether it is home series, away series, I had something in my mind that I can get picked anytime because I had that belief. So every game I was playing, whether it was district level game, whether it was state level game or a club level game, I told myself there is certain intensity with I will play this game, and I'm not going to change irrespective of level, whether IPL, district, whichever level I'm playing. I'm going to play with certain intensity, and that's exactly what I did. And hence, when I made a comeback, I felt like I was always ready for it.
And we've seen the change. Parthiv as a teenager and a batsman, and then like you said, 26 years. You at that age also you were making changes in your game, and then we saw a different Parthiv, the one who was hitting from the first ball and had a different approach. So how did that transition happen? What went in your head? Did you practice a lot more on being attacking player?
Yes, I did. I think that that's something you have to, as I said, got to accept the timing that this is the demand of the time. It was IPL coming in T20 format. As a wicket keeper, you got to score not only 30, 50. You have to score at certain uh, strike rate as well. Because even if you're playing Test cricket where you're batting at number 7, you are either playing with tail or you're batting with number 6 or 5 batsmen. That's when you're expected to score at a certain strike rate as well. So that's something I changed. I went on to I used to go to Motera indoor stadium and the indoor facility which we have, would just hit balls for 2 3 hours, just set machine and then keep hitting the ball. I think that's something I changed it. It wasn't that suddenly I decided that I want to become an attacking player and I became attacking player.
That's
So it doesn't happen that way to any youngster. You got to put in hours, you got to put in a lot of effort behind it. And I'm glad that whatever hard work I did could reflect into performance as well.
And obviously that change helped you in your T20 IPL performances, and we've seen the impact you had top of the order, and you played for a few IPL teams. So how was the experience? Playing IPL and then not just playing and performing. Say there are players who stick with one team for they've been for 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. In your case, you had to move. So how difficult was that? And ensuring that you perform for each franchise.
So I think the most difficult task was to getting moved from one team to other team and getting used to the cultures of different side. Every team has different way of preparing, different way of playing. Chennai had different way of playing. Kochi, 1 year I was with Kochi. Hyderabad was different. Then I moved to Mumbai Indians, which was more professional. Everything's been covered. Same as Chennai. RCB had that that play bold kind of thing, different culture, different buzz. So to all of that, you have to make sure that you gelled into them. You can't expect the certain team will change the way you want it to change them. So you have to go out there and mold yourself accordingly. So that's something which I used to do. I think that was very big challenge, but I'm glad that at the end of the day, end of my career, I can proudly say that I'm 3-time IPL winners, twice with Mumbai and once with Chennai. But as I said, for me, biggest strength of my character was to accepting the situation and try and find a way out of it. Once you accept it, this is what it is. Then you look for then the positives. Actually, you can see positives. But when you say that, oh, why am I in this situation? Then every time your mind will reflect into negative things.